What's going on, guys? Byron here from ETA Wheels, and we're continuing on our A7C journey, which is part of our YouTube journey, if you want to look at it that way. So, about a week and a half ago, I picked up a Sony A7C at a price I couldn't argue with, 50% off of retail, with a kit lens. I was mother effing excited, so yes, I went ahead and I got that. So now I've got two really good primary cameras, and I've got my DJI for everything else. And I've got a GoPro Hero 8 as well, but it's currently dead. I am super duper excited because I did copious amounts of research. And this is the thing right off of the bat that broke my heart about this camera. If you notice, I don't have a lens installed at the moment. I bought this with the kit lens, which is this. So we're going to have a talk about this here, kit lens. This kit lens is an f4 to 5.6, 28 to 60 millimeter lens. If you're looking primarily for cinematography, I'm going to tell you, unless you get something like the deal that I got, buy the body of the camera and buy your glass separate. And here's why I say that. This is not a horrible lens. This is actually a decent-ish lens. If you're outdoors and you want something compact, this lens weighs next to nothing, okay? So you want something somewhat compact, and you want to pack this in a bag, and you want to go hike a trail. There you go. At 28 millimeter, you're not going to get that nice wide angle. Now, pay attention, okay? So right now, I'm on the Sony ZV-1. We're shooting at 1/50, and it is f-stop 1.8. And this is, I think it's around 18 millimeter after you convert it out, right? We are shooting in 4K, 24 frames per second, which means it's cropped in a little bit because I do have the active stabilization on. I wanted to do that specifically so that when we change over and switch to the Sony here, you guys are going to see a very similar perspective. I did that on purpose. So the first thing that I'm going to talk about with this lens, and this is more for filmmakers, all right? If you're shooting stills, this is an all right lens. If you watch my unboxing and initial review of the A7C, you'll see I took some decent video, and it was passable. But the part of this that you didn't see is how much further back I was because of the 28 millimeter compared to how close I can get with this. Right? Now pay attention to this. I'm doing this for a reason. See this autofocus right here? We're going to come back to this discussion in just a moment. I just did this right now so that you can put this in your head. This is dope-ass autofocus. When you use this lens with the Sony A7C, you're going to be incredibly disappointed. Again, I bought the camera primarily to shoot video with having a good capability for taking stills as well. The Sony ZV-1 is an amazing camera. Nobody is debating that. It really is a phenomenal little game changer of a camera. This is a full frame sensor. This is gangster. And it's a full frame sensor in a relatively compact camera. Now this thing weighs about a pound with the battery in it and the memory card and stuff like that. But that's not what we're here to talk about. And we're not really here to talk about the difference between the ZV-1 and the A7C. They both have a very good use. This lens right here at 28 to 60, here's the advantage to it. Watch it. You see how it pops up? That's one of the things that annoys me about this lens as well. It's cool because it all collapses down in and it makes a very nice compact package. And you've got your 60 and you've got your 28. All right. So if you're outside, because this only goes down to f4, this is a great lens for shooting outside. This is not a great lens for shooting indoors. I'm going to show you something else. Looks like there's a big chunk of glass on there, right? Nope, that's my UV filter and the adapter ring. One thing I feel is not discussed enough in photography is your objective lens size. Okay? And the larger your objective lens, the better the light transmission is going to be. Now I have this adapted up to a 52mm filter. Now you're probably scratching your head going, well, you hate the lens, why would you spend the money to buy the adapter and the filter? I'm going to tell you, because I've got a wide angle lens coming for this. And that wide angle lens will enable me to use ND filters, UV filters, and they happen to be the same size. So there you go. All right. Ooh, I gotta clean that. So now I'm gonna do a little segue. I also picked up a Green Clean wet and dry sensor cleaner, which I'm actually gonna use to clean my lens right now. And you're probably wondering, you're like, well, we're talking about a lens, now you're cleaning it with a sensor cleaner. What the hell is wrong with you, Mr. Byron? I want to tell you. This lens, contrary to whatever the hell you read online, is not weather sealed. They tell you it is, I'm telling you it's not. And I'm telling you it's not because I literally took this lens on this camera outside yesterday in a dust storm, and I ended up having to clean my freaking sensor. I'm not very happy about that. That's not cool. So you know what that does tell me? That tells me that this is not actually a sealed lens. So for those of you who are going to be using this outside, on your hikes, or more importantly, if you live in a desert, like this guy, you are going to want to take that into account. Cool, that's all cleaned up. Let's go ahead and put the cap back on, and we're going to continue. So now, what I've got is what I believe through research. Now, to be the best overall solution for me and my A7C. And I'm super excited because they made me a really good deal. And you can look up the prices online yourself. We're not going to talk about that. But I bought a Camron, pardon me, I'm a little tired. It's been a long day. I bought a Tamron 17 to 28. We'll be right back after I change this battery. Cool, so we're back. So now you're going to open the box, which looks like this. There's not a whole lot in the box. There's literally a bag, some cardboard, some instructions. That's it. So what do you get with the lens? You get your storage cap, get your lens cap, and you see this cool thing right here that folds back for storage? Not all lenses have this. You get a very nice tulip style shade for your lens. That's going to help you a lot outdoors. But we're going to take that and set that over there for right now. So one of the first things that I did, oh, go ahead and take this filter off. Remember I was telling you about the objective lens size. I don't know why. Way back when I learned how to do photography and we were using actual film, that was a thing, it existed. And it wasn't even that long ago. One of the ways that you used to judge a lens's light transmission capability was the objective lens size. Now we're going to take a look at that. All right. Just for comparison. Okay. That is not a particularly large objective. That is a 40mm objective glass. Remember, kids, objective lens matters. Look at that. Look at that. You see that difference? That is a 67mm opening. So yeah, that's pretty good. That's going to let a lot of light in. Now this is an f2.8 lens. Again, going back to the light transmission comment, the lowest you can go here is f4. And that's great if all you're doing is outside stuff. But if you're doing film work, f2.8, or even better is an f1.8, but I was not able to afford an f1.8. I'm going to show you something cool. See how the lens moves? This one, see that? Right? So if you're using this on a gimbal, this is going to change your weight. If you're using this on a gimbal, it won't. Point Tamron. Now, this is not a very heavy lens. This is right about a pound. This is about a pound. This is half a pound at best. I'll go get my scale. Alrighty guys, and we're back. So we're just letting the scale zero out. And I'm going to do this in both grams and ounces. So here's the kit lens. I'm going to leave the covers on. 203 grams. .1 ounces. Here's the Tamron. 1 pound, 0.01 ounce. Convert that over to grams. 456 grams with the covers installed. Just because there's that one guy out there on the internet. Here's your sunshade. 478 grams. $457 without, $479 with. There's always that guy. I don't really want to do that, so that's 23 grams. That's 440 minus 23 grams. You figure it out. Cool. So now, the kit lens starts at 28 and goes up to 60. So it'll cover a pretty decent section. This does 17 to 28. Now if you're shooting YouTube videos, this is the range you want. Okay? This is a very well made lens. I've seen some of the YouTubers that are like, oh, well, it's kind of a plasticky or this or that. Look, there are certain sacrifices you're going to have to make for weight reduction, okay? Let's just be realistic here. This has a nice, tight focus ring. Feels very nice. I'm sorry, this is the zoom ring. This is the focus ring. Feels very nice. I don't see why anybody in the world would complain about that. I'm not a professional photographer. Now, I chose a clear UV filter that will be installed on this lens at all times. Why? You notice the lens moves in and out. I don't want to risk sand or dirt getting in there. If you live in the United States, you may not have that issue unless you're in like Arizona or one of the deserts. The lens, the UV lens cover that I chose to go with is K&F Concept. No particular rhyme or reason, that's what they had. This does not darken anything, and it shouldn't affect anything indoors. But what it does do is give you a more positive seal on the end of the lens. So there you go. And there are some benefits when you're shooting outside with it as well. See that? Don't even have to change the lens cap. Point Tamron. I had to get a different size lens cap to run with that filter. All right, so now let's talk about it on the camera. The reason I mentioned the weights, because this is what kind of shocked me. I was looking at the Sigma. I was looking at a couple of different lenses. Yeah, I looked at the G Master. I ain't got G Master money. This now balances so well in your hand, right? It was very camera body heavy with this, but the physical size of this lens, which is not particularly huge, by the way. I know if you're coming from a small form factor camera, it's probably I mean, this thing is looking like the Eiffel Tower to you. But I can tell you with my background in photography, no, it isn't. It really isn't. So you open the box, you got your filter cap, or you got your UV clear installed, which you can still put this on for storage, and you can still run the sun hood. So good job, Tamron. One of the first things you're going to want to do with this, and I don't see anybody else discussing this at all on the interwebs, so we're going to talk about it now. This lens right here supports in-camera updates. You need to update the firmware on your Tamron lens. So you go into the menu. Matter of fact, I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to walk you through the menu options that you need. So you're going to go to Setup, page 6, Version. Now, the body firmware is version 1.0, and the lens firmware is currently 0.3. You want to check that, okay? Now, when they update the firmware in this lens, that updates the autofocus tracking abilities and a whole bunch of other stuff. So you're going to want to make sure that you do that, right? This feels, even though it's a bigger physical setup, this feels better in my hand and balances better, even though it weighs more than that Sony lens did. And the other benefit of having a just slightly heavier lens is when you're shooting it, it's going to take up a lot of those little handshakes. But let's stop talking about it and let's go ahead and we're going to put the kit lens on, and I'm going to shoot at 28. And then I'm going to put this lens on, and we're going to shoot at 28. I'm going to show you the difference. So the next part of this footage that you see is going to be me on the kit lens, which you've just witnessed. I've totally cleaned. There's nothing on it. All right. So we're going to switch over to the A7C. Deuces. Alrighty guys, so here we are, zoomed in to 28mm. This is on the Tamron lens. What do you think? Pretty dope, huh? I've got the eye autofocus set. I can see the box is tracking me. I'm going to move backwards, move forwards. That is very fast and very responsive. So now, let's check it with this. There we go. Sorry, I was inside the minimum focal distance. So I've got some adjustments to make on my end as well. But look how quick that comes back. Bam! Bam! Yeah, yeah. Bam! 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 All right. So this is 28mm. Which, even sitting here at my table the way that I am, it's still a decent view. But now, let's show you why I bought it. Here's 24. You guys noticing a difference? Check that bokeh in the background, which I just recently learned is actually pronounced bokeh. Bokeh. Sorry, bokeh. It's a Japanese word. Who knew? Look at that. Look at that at 20mm. Check that shizzle out. Look at that. Got a great field of view. Right? I've got some cool bokeh going on back there. Even at an f2.8. See that? Bam! Bam! Look at that. That is amazing. Check it out. 17mm. Now, as you can see, I've got the weird Canadian spaghetti arm looking thing here. But still pretty dope perspective. However, 20mm is pretty much where it's at as far as I'm concerned. This is perfect. All right. Don't have too much distortion. There's a little bit, but it's not too bad. My face is clear. It's able to track me. It's able to track me as I move. Now I'm going to go back here, and again, we're just going to leave this at 20mm. f2.8, filming at 1/50. ISO is set to auto. Okay, so I can see the target from here. I'm just going to wiggle around, move around a little bit. Check it out. How clear am I? Step, step. Now we're back on the eye autofocus at this distance. So this is what I'm going to be using the camera for 99% of the time. What do you think? Still not a bad perspective. I can get a lot closer. This is a heck about an inch away from the lens right now. That's pretty clear. Bam! All right, so that's too close. Right about there, that's your minimum focus distance. See how everything blurs in the background nicely? Bam! Back to the sexiest man alive, in my opinion. We're going to repeat that at 20. Bam! Sorry, I'm trying to program my brain to the minimum focus distance here. That's pretty good. Now we're just going to come all the way into 28. And it does take it a little bit longer at 28. Like I said, this is pretty much where I want to be. This is 20 millimeters. I love it. The light transmission, the picture quality, this is amazing. So now, we're going to go ahead and jump on this. You ready? Alrighty guys, so here we are on the 28 millimeter. Do you notice a little bit of a difference? I bet you do. This is f4.0. Peep the background. You see that string of lights that's running right about there visually? That's been on the entire time. You could actually kind of see it with a nice little orb effect back there, which is what I want. And now it just kind of looks odd, right? But this is f4.0 and this is 28 millimeters. Can you see why vlogging with this might not necessarily be a good idea? So let's assume that you're starting out and you don't have a lot of money and you're using this kit lens to vlog. You're going to have to get here. There's no spaghetti arm distortion going on here, buddy. And again, that's the difference of f4 versus f2.8. Now here's what's cool about this. When you put it at f2.8, it stays at f2.8 throughout the entire zoom range. This one is only at f4 at 28 millimeters. The millisecond you zoom changes to 5.6. So now I am, to get a comfortable frame up, and again, you can see how much less of the background that you can see here. To get a comfortable frame up for this, right, I am sitting approximately 1 meter or about 3.3 feet away from the camera. Right? I'm 6'4", for those of you guys who need a little perspective. So let's check out the autofocus. That's all right. That's about the minimum focus distance right here. See the difference? It's nowhere near as nice. Since I'm at about this distance here, which is about where I need to be for a proper perspective for doing a vlog such as this, go ahead and take this all the way up to 60. I am now about 6 feet away from the camera. You don't really hear much of a difference in my audio because I'm using a wireless mic. If you're using a shotgun mic at 60, you notice how you see nothing in the background now? You're at f5.6, which is the lowest you can go at this particular zoom. And look, it sucks. There. Break eye focus. There you go. So that's the minimum focus distance for this lens. And this is about 1 meter away from the camera. Bam. Okay, now I'm in focus. There. Now, the autofocusing that you're seeing, I just want to throw this out there. That's because of the absolutely phenomenal autofocus system that is built into the camera. It has very little to do with the lens. So now, this is what I look like at 60 millimeters at my standard seating distance. So let's drop that back down, shall we? So at this distance, is it usable? Yeah. But it sucks. I mean, seriously. This is the way to go. Don't believe me? We're going to switch back. You ready? And so here we are again. Back on the Tamron. Focal length is 20 millimeters. Do you see the difference? I bet you do. Now let's be fair and let's go ahead and adjust this. There you go. Here's f4.0. So this is 20 millimeters at f4.0. Notice how sharp everything looks in the background now. That's cool, but that's not what you're going for when you're shooting a video like this. You want that more cinematic look, right? So let's go ahead, and there we are, boom, we're at f2.8. Notice the difference? See the string of lights? Remember I mentioned that string of lights. See how that string of lights looks? Now let's go ahead and take it back up to f4.0. See the difference in the string of lights? Let's go ahead and take it back up to 5.6. Notice how much sharper everything in the background is. So between f4 and 5.6, everything is focused and nothing is blurred. Maybe this is something that's important to you. Maybe it's not. Here's 17. Now if you notice at 17, some, but not all, of the spaghetti arms goes away at f5.6. And again, you can see how razor sharp everything is in the background compared to going back to that beautiful 2.8. Now, there's a lot of people who will say, oh, well, the f2.8 doesn't give you that great of a bokeh in the background. I think it does, and I think it does a very nice job. Now let's give you, I'm going to take this to f4, and we're going to go ahead and take you up to 28 millimeter. So now this, in theory, should be pretty close to how this was with the kit lens. Distances haven't changed, but do you notice a difference? Take a look at everything around me, right? So you can't always rely just on that. I'm going to take you back out to that beautiful 20 millimeter. This is where it's at, and I am incredibly happy with the performance right now on this test footage of this lens at 20 millimeter. This is pretty much exactly what I wanted. You can see my stuff I've got in the background. You can see Miss Virginia Beach over yonder. You get kind of this cool blue effect from the light coming through the window. And you guys are like, but Byron, shut up and go take some stills. Roger, we're gonna do that. I'm going to take you outside off of my balcony, and we're going to take some stills outside. I've already taken some stills today with this. Now we're going to take you out with this. And we're going to get some stills. I have a UV filter that is clear installed on both of these lenses for pretty much the exact same reasons. I want that little bit of extra resistance, as here I live in a desert. All right, so we're going to go outside. I'm going to take some photos, and we're going to talk about it. Alrighty, guys, so now we're back. Shutter speed, I have dropped back down to a much more, shall we say, cinematic 1/50. I'm very happy with this. All of these photos were shot on the Cine 2 picture profile. All of the still images, all of the video, in fact, that you've actually seen come out of this camera so far have all been shot with the Cine 2 picture profile, adjusted the black levels a little bit, and I've set this particular one for the white balance of incandescent. So just in case anybody out there wants to, you know, replicate what I've got going on here, I'm going to tell you something. This lens, this Sony offer a kit lens for the A7C with this lens. Please do that. Not this. Look, if you're primarily buying this camera to shoot still pictures, this is not a bad way to go. I'm not telling you that this is a garbage lens, but for the application of which I see 70 to 80% of the people buying this camera for, it is not for stills. It is for video with the capability of taking 24 megapixel full frame stills as well. And here's what I've learned about it, right? This is 20 millimeter. This is the very first time I have used this lens. The only thing I did prior to shooting this video was hooked it up to the camera body to check this firmware version. That's it. That's it. That's all I've done. Now, here's the other cool thing. When you've got the in-body stabilization turned on the A7C, this lens is compatible, so you can use this footage through Catalyst Browse and get some razor sharp footage. Pretty cool, huh? Yeah, you can do it with this one too, but really, go shoot some video with it, and go shoot some video with this, and you'll see night and day difference. Speaking of which, once it gets dark outside, which it is 5:40 right now. I'm sorry, 4:40. So it's 4:40 right now. I'm gonna go back outside about 7 p.m. and that same video clip that I shot on the A7C versus the ZV-1, when I showed you the footage at night, we're gonna repeat that same footage with this lens. Then you guys are gonna see the magic. The f2.8 is pretty daggone good for 99% of your low light use. And f1.8 is what I really had my heart set on, so I could go outside on the blackest of nights and take reasonable photos. But the f2.8 will do very nicely. It lets a lot of light in, and it certainly lets a heck of a lot more light than an f4 does. And part of the secret to its low light performance, this objective lens right here, this objective lens size, which nobody ever seems to discuss on any kind of a lens review, and I've never understood why, right? Back in the day, you would discuss the zoom range, the f-stop, and the objective lens size. Why nobody does that today, I don't know. Maybe it's just something that's fallen out of practice over the years. I don't really know. This only looks huge because I've got that filter on it. So, am I gonna get rid of this lens? No, I'm gonna keep it because I might be outside on that super duper sunny day and just need a lens that is overall darker. Or I may need one with a little bit more zoom capability than this 28 millimeter gives me. But for 90% of everything that I'm going to do, and with this A7C, this lens right here is going to do it. And for that remaining 10%, I'm going to pick up the companion lens to this Tamron, which is a 28 to 75. That will give me pretty much all the capabilities I'm going to need. And for my desire of an f1.8 aperture, I'm probably going to pick up a Samyang autofocus 1.8 and probably a 18 to 24 range, somewhere in there. I haven't really quite decided yet, but when I find a deal on one of those, I'll find a deal on one of those, and then I'll have an even more compact camera. But this right here, this overall form factor of this camera, this is what I consider the limits of a compact portable camera. If you go with a longer lens or you go with a much heavier lens, it's not going to feel as nice to carry around. And the thing that nobody has talked about in any of the YouTube videos and reviews of this lens camera combo, I'm going to go ahead and talk about right now. When you pick up the A7C with this lens, what it wants to do in your hand is tip back because it's not balanced at all. And so a lot of the reviewers that are reviewing this camera with the kit lens installed, what they're not telling you when they say the grip is uncomfortable to them, right? What they're not telling you is that the reason it feels uncomfortable is because this is not balanced. Even when this is extended all the way out to 60 millimeter, it doesn't shift the balance point too greatly. You would notice it if you're on a gimbal, where you have to take the time to precisely calibrate it and balance it. But holding it in your hand, what I feel is it wants to torque back because the weight is all here. When I put this lens on the camera, it is a remarkably neutral, balanced lens. It's almost like somebody at Tamron thought, you know, let's match it, a pound and a pound, right? Because the A7C itself, you know what? Let's switch you over to the ZV-1 and let's get the weight of the A7C by itself. Alrighty guys, and we're back on the ZV-1. The one thing I didn't do is weigh this during my A7C unboxing. I apologize. So this is the weight of the camera with the battery installed, an SD card installed, and just this blanking cap. 514 grams. 514. All right, for my Americans out there, that is 1 pound, 2 ounces, or approximately 1/4 bald eagle. There you go. Now, so we've already gone this far. With the kit lens installed, is 1 pound, 8.4 ounce. For literally the rest of the entire world. That is 697 grams. Now the reason I'm doing this is because some of you guys that are out there looking at the A7C camera are also more than likely, like me, looking for a gimbal. So you're going to want to know the weight of this thing so that you can buy the correct gimbal and thus be able to balance and use it and not waste your money. And yes, I still have the little straps attached. I've done that because I just want this to be the weight of the camera out of the box. Because there's always that one guy. We're going to do it with and without the sunshade. That is 973 grams. 947 grams without the sunshade. That is 2 pounds, 1.6 ounces, or approximately 1/2 of a bald eagle for the Americans. There you go. And again, the thing that I want to talk about, for the people who complain about how the grip on this camera feels, when you have this particular lens installed, okay, this is incredibly neutrally balanced. This feels 100% better in my hand, even though it's physically more weight than this lens installed on this camera. You can do with that information and that opinion whatever you wish. I don't really care. I'm just giving you my opinion. That's all this is, really. But this, tell me what you think. See, now that we're back on the ZV-1 towards the end of this here video, tell me what you think down in the comments below. Let me know. Which camera do you like better? Again, this is at the f1.8. That's weird. It's not shifting my f-stop for some reason. Anyway, but this is the 1.8, as you can tell by the background there. Pretty cool. This is, yeah, this is zoomed all the way in. So, what do you think about the perspective difference between this and this and this? Let me know down in the comments below. Tell me what you chose for your YouTube setup. Or maybe you're like me and you're just doing tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of research before you spend your hard-earned cash, right? The other subtle thing that I want to talk about, I just want to show you this. See how it's got that cool silver ring around the bottom of it, and you see how it matches the top of the A7C? I think that's kind of a cool touch. I really like this. This is the color combo that I wanted instead of the all blacked out version, just because it kind of reminds me, it gives me that little bit of a nostalgia factor. Again, this is just my opinion, but this, I believe, is the perfect camera for somebody looking for all of the capabilities that I'm looking for out of one single piece of equipment. The ZV-1, this is an incredible camera. Absolutely incredible camera. But it's not a full frame sensor. And it takes pretty good pictures, but it's not this. And I'm going to do some moon photography later on tonight. And I'm going to take some stills of the moon with this. And I'm going to take some stills of the night sky and the moon with this. And of course, this will get a little bit closer at 60mm than this will at 28mm. But I'm still going to show you that. And I'm going to take the first moon photo you see in this video will be 28mm and then 60mm. And then I'm going to take one at 17mm, and then I'm going to take one at 28mm tonight. And you're going to see a hell of a difference on the amount of light that each lens lets in. And then I'm going to go shoot some video on this bad boy right here of my now incredibly dirty car, because it has rained today and we had a really wicked dust storm last night. So you're hopefully going to see all of the gory, and by gory I mean muddy, details of my car and what it looks like when it's a little funky. This has been Byron from ETA Wheels. I know this video has gone quite a bit longer than I intended, but I wanted to discuss some of the points that, again, I feel nobody really addressed in any of their reviews on this lens. And I get it. Most of the people that are in the positions to do these lenses, they're not actually buying them themselves. They're getting a test unit or they're doing a rental. I've seen quite a few of those videos where guys are doing a rental for a week and they're testing it out. Or Tamron sends this YouTuber a lens to try. So they don't really have the time to get into the little subtleties of it. And I'm going to update this as I learn some of the more subtleties about it. But the key things to take away. This is 17 to 28 millimeters, so it gives you a very nice perspective for vlogging. It has a large objective lens and an f2.8. So it is, I know a lot of people are all about that f1.8. Guys, I'm going to tell you, go with a 2.8. Get a 1.8 lens if you can afford it. But for the capabilities, that little bit of a difference in the light transmission, unless you're doing like astrophotography or almost exclusively filming in dark studio, the f2.8, it's a trade-off. You're never going to get that perfect lens. You're never going to get that perfect camera. You just have to balance the capabilities and your expectations for what it is that you want to do. And this, I believe, is as close to perfect as it's possible to get for me. And everything that I want to do. The only thing that I wish the A7C did was 60 frames and 120 frames in 4K. And who knows, maybe we'll get a firmware update in the semi-near future and they'll take care of that complaint. I have a pretty good feeling they will. The other thing I would desperately love to see on this is the same super amazing autofocus that the ZV-1 has. So both cameras have a very good use in your YouTube studio journey. And I keep saying that, it's a journey because it is a journey. Once you set down this path, you have to start creating and you have to start getting your videos out there, and then you can start figuring out what works best. If you guys are sitting at home and you're like, well, I gotta wait on this before I can start taking videos, just stop. Just go do it. Just go do it. Get out there and start. That's the most important part. This is Byron from ETA Wheels, and y'all have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you a little bit later on. Alrighty guys, so we're outside. It's a lot darker than it looks in the video. This is just that f2.8 that I was talking about. So this is 17 millimeter. You guys can see she's a dirty little piggy right now because of all that dust. Alright, now we're going to come up. This is f4. As you can see, the footage is a lot sharper, looks a lot better. We're still at 17 millimeter. We're going to walk around this way. Alright, so we're going to come all the way into 28 millimeter. Still at f4. You know what? I'm going to do this pass at 2.8. Alright, so now we're at 2.8. You guys can really see that light gathering ability. Shutter speed is 1/50. We're using the onboard audio. Alright. So here's f4. 20 millimeter, or 28 millimeter, I'm sorry. I have to be quick because the rain just started picking up. And I really don't want to rain on my brand new camera. Alright guys. That's about it. Let me know what you think.